Turkish media say the authorities in Istanbul have elected an interim mayor to serve in place of Ekrem Imamoglu, whose detention a week ago triggered huge protests. Nuri Aslan is from Mr Imamoglu's centre-left party, the CHP, which serves as the main opposition to President Erdogan's AKP at national level. Protesters staged a seventh night of anti-government demonstrations last night, following the arrest and imprisonment of Mr Imamoglu. Nearly 1,500 people have been arrested in the past week of mass protests, including journalists and lawyers. The leader of the CHP has called for a mass rally on Saturday in protest against Mr Imamoglu's detention and has demanded an early election. Let's speak to our reporter in Istanbul, Emily Wither. Emily, just bring us up to date on the latest. We've seen extraordinary images for the last week.
We have, yes, and it is confirmed now that the opposition, the CHP, has elected someone within their own party to serve as an interim mayor here while Ekrem Imamoglu is in jail pending trial. And we have seen these enormous demonstrations now for 7 days since he was detained last Wednesday. He's now been charged and he is awaiting trial. And I think tonight we might see the protests a little bit more muted because it is the holiest day of Ramadan, and the head of the opposition, Özgür Özel, as well as Imamoglu from his prison cell, has called on his supporters to go out into the streets and have an iftar. So that is the fast-breaking meal for Ramadan, and we expect that there will be many iftars now out on the street, potentially in support of Imamoglu. It may be that students still go out to protest. We have seen this growing student movement, which is separate to the opposition rallies. They also had their own demonstration last night, which was tens of thousands strong. They marched through the streets of Istanbul to a park here. They then carried on blocking roads. The day before, they shut down a major bridge here. So we are really seeing this grassroots student movement as well out on the streets demanding change.
And what is known about Nuri Aslan, and what role will he now serve?
Well, there have been a lot of concern that the government here would nominate their own appointee, because we have seen that happen in other municipalities when opposition mayors have been removed. And because of that, the leader of the opposition and Imamoglu's City Hall staff had actually been sleeping in the building since Wednesday because they didn't want to leave the building unoccupied in case the government tried to take it over. Now, we've been told that this member Nuri Aslan has been endorsed by Imamoglu. He is a member of the party, and he will now serve for the remaining time left of Imamoglu's mayoralship while Imamoglu awaits trial.
And what, if anything, is known about the conditions of Ekrem Imamoglu's detention? Is it known exactly where he is or what the conditions are?
So he's not far from it. He's being held just outside Istanbul, and yesterday the leader of the opposition was able to go and visit him. He has shared many messages from his prison cell on social media, probably via his aides. I'll just read you one of them from yesterday. He said that when we come to power, we will not do what you did to us. Justice will be everyone's guarantee. He also said in one of his social media posts that he'd had a chance to watch some of the media coverage of the protests in this country. Now, over 90% of the media here in Turkey is controlled by the government. And he was very critical. He said that he was disappointed that when he turned on the channels that the protests were not being shown. And he has called on people to boycott the media because of that. We've also seen a number of journalists detained, Turkish journalists, for covering these protests. Some of them have now been charged, and they will be held in jail too, awaiting a trial. They've been charged for taking part in the demonstrations rather than covering them. And, you know, this is just another sign how much the government here does not want images of these protests going around the country.
Emily Wither in Istanbul, thanks very much.